10 health students. Hope you're going well. Obviously, we had the announcement yesterday from the government, from Daniel Andrews, the Premier of Victoria, that we're going into the state of disaster officially, which means that we're now in stage 4 lockdown. So you won't be heading into school for any of those VCE subjects, probably until the end of the term, it sounds like. But that means that we're just going to continue on with this remote learning. So I'd like to re-offer to you that if you are feeling the need for me to change the style of learning that we've been doing with the availability to email or Zoom at the start of the lesson for role marking, and then I provide you with information through this YouTube forum, and then there's a worksheet, etc., to go for the lessons. I am more than happy to make any changes, but I need the feedback from you guys. So feel free to let me know if you want any changes made to that one. I've been saying for a few weeks now that this week there is an outcome task, and that outcome task is going to start on Wednesday and run through till Thursday's class and be submitted by the end of Thursday's class. And a reminder to you that there are 3 outcome tasks each term. Once you've completed satisfactorily each of those 3, you get an S for each outcome task. You will get a satisfactory result for Year 10 Health, and then we can head into the SAC at the end of the term, which summarizes every bit of learning, and I can provide you with a score of how well you are tracking in health. So we're looking for S's on those outcome tasks, and it utilizes all the knowledge that we've learned so far. Within today's lesson plan, there's a few things to watch and a website for you to go to. And the other thing I want to direct you to, obviously we've got a new learning task here, which is term 3, week 3. So upload at the end of today's task the worksheet to there. Now, in our resources, term 3, week 2, you'll still be using this PowerPoint, the Australian Health Status PowerPoint, just to finish it off. I do go through it in my video though. And then today you'll also be using this first link here, which is Measuring Health Status Worksheet. That is the worksheet that I'm asking to be uploaded to term 3, week 3 at the end of today's task. Just a reminder to you about where we're sitting. We've obviously finished lessons 1, 2, and 3 about the dimensions. 4, 5, and 6 last week, introducing the indicators and measurements of health status. And we're moving into 7, 8, and 9. We've got our outcome task here, and then we've got the measurements completed by the end of this week. So hopefully I've been going through them at a nice slow pace for you, and that you've got a really good indication of to what each of these things is, and you're feeling confident and comfortable. So last lesson, incidence and prevalence were 2 things that I've focused on. We've got our little pencil icon up in the top right hand corner here, which means take some notes as I go through this. Here is a new concept. Remember, this is all about how we measure the health status of individuals, but right at the moment with what we're discussing here with the YLD, it is more about the population level. So think about Australia, okay? Now, years lost due to disability. It's important to note that years lost due to disability is not an indicator that someone has passed away or deceased. This is the number of years of regular life abilities being lost due to the disability that's come on board. So YLD is a measure of the impact of the morbidity of a group of population. And a reminder to you that morbidity is one thing that we spoke about in a fair bit of depth in a previous lesson. So if you're not feeling confident, go back to that glossary that you should be continually adding to, and now adding years of life lost due to disability to that glossary. Now, YLL, years of life lost, and YLD, years lost due to disability, are both equal in value. So 1 year of YLL is equal to 1 year of YLD. So it is exactly the same as our regular measurement of years, and they are both equal to 1 healthy year of life lost. So the difference here is that YLL has meant that premature death has come on. YLD means that a disability has come on in someone's life. But both of these are losing years that are expected years of living without illness, disease, or disability. So you can have a look here at some of the YLD indicators that come up. What are some of the things that people live with? Most of the time towards their older life. However, some of these YLDs can come on at an early age onset as well. However, these are things that we expect to happen later in people's life with the life expectancy that we've discussed. So the proportion of the YLD here for the 15 to 19-year-olds in comparison to the 10 to 14-year-olds, you can see that the mental and substance use disorders goes quite a large increase from 32% to 41%, which as people are going through 15 to 19 years, that's really when that sort of tension starts to happen. Obviously, there's a lot of pressures coming in from school, from home, etc. And this is one of the reasons that we need to move forward with youth health and really focus on this. So we talk about the burden of disease. Now, the burden of disease needs to be a numerical measure of what is the impact of diseases and injuries. So it's a gap measurement between a current health status and an ideal situation where everyone lives to their old age, free of disease and disability. So if we want to look at what the burden, the impact of disease actually is, then we need to use a measurement called DALY, Disability Adjusted Life Years. So what we're talking about here is that we're actually talking about the adjustment of someone's life expectancy in comparison to their disability life impacts and also years of life lost. So the DALY is calculated when you sum up the years of life lost due to premature death and the years that were lived with a disability for people living with a health condition. I think this next slide makes a bit more sense looking at it in diagrammatic form. So the DALY, the disability adjusted life years, we're looking at regular life here, living without the burden of disease or injury. And then we're looking at the years lost due to disability. And then we're looking at the years of life lost due to premature death in comparison to life expectancy. So if we look at, as this young person is born, what their life expectancy is, then we have years of life lost, then we have years of life due to disability. I want to skip over this slide here because this is actually an introduction as part of what you're going to be doing for your outcome task. So when we talk about disability years, right? When we talk about disability years, the disabilities that are actually going to be discussed are the things that you're going to focus on in your outcome task, all right? And they're listed there, and we're going to go into them with data and detail. One of the other things that we just need to mention, and I think it's important to add to your notes, is that when we're talking about trends and when we're talking about health and lifestyle, sociocultural factors can help us identify trends. So wherever somebody is born, how they're raised, the sort of environment in which they grow up in, based on their income, based on their peer group, based on their employment, actually have some trends and indicators. So we looked at some countries in one of our recent tasks where you actually looked at the data of different countries. And partially, you might have seen a trend that countries that had lower income also had a lower life expectancy. That is known as a sociocultural factor that impacts on a trend. Sociocultural factors actually help with the trends of health status, and they show that some groups are better off and some groups are worse off than others. So some of the trends and sociocultural factors are actually choices that people make, like smoking cigarettes. They have a negative impact, but some are things that people don't have a choice in the matter. There is a YouTube link there that talks about different postcodes and what it means to be in a different postcode for years of life lost, years lost due to disability, and also life expectancy, etc. And I don't want you to worry at all about this last slide. This was an activity to do in person at school. Now, I said to you earlier that we were going to open up a Microsoft Word document once we've taken those notes, and this is that document here. It's just 6 questions. Now, the first 5 questions you should be able to complete without going back over your notes. I'm hoping that by this stage, we've gone through this stuff nice and slow, nice and steady, and people are feeling comfortable and confident with this. However, when you get to question 6, this large question here, this is actually part of the research activity that is going to help you on Wednesday and Thursday. So there's a website I'd like you to go to, and it's a website you've been to once before, but I'm literally just going to take you to the main page here. When you are in this page, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you search. You can read and search and find any article, any data, anything you want. What I want you to keep in mind when you're doing this is I want you to keep in mind, sorry, I'm just going to open it up, this original diagram here. That when we are looking at the status of health for an individual or a population, and this is an Australian website, so we're looking at a population here, each of these factors that I've been through in a slow, methodical form helps us get an indicator as to what the health status of Australia actually is. And this is what I'm now asking you to do, is go back to this website and find out, what do you think Australia's health status is? And if you're able to argue your point using multiple sentences and multiple pieces of data that you find from these reports here, use quotes, use data, use all the information that's there, and help me in my understanding of what Australia's health status is based on the skills and knowledge that we've been through in the last couple of weeks. Don't forget that somebody's health status or a population's health status is not just indicated by physical health. There are the 5 dimensions of health that all come in play when we talk about the actual status of health, and the measurement factors are all of the items that we've been through in the last few weeks. Don't forget to submit that research task at the end of today's lesson and email me. We can set up a Zoom if anyone's having any issues with anything. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy it.